welcome back. If you have just joined us, we are having a discussion on the menace of drug addiction. And with me having that conversation is Mr. Ebrahim Dawood of the R.A.U.F Foundation. So let's shift a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about R.A.U.F and what role has R.A.U.F played in fighting drug addiction?
We need to understand this, that how, well, R.A.U.F was not something that we created, because we wanted to do something. If I had my way, I would have gone into business, and I'll be very honest, I'm a businessman, and I would want to obviously make money like everybody else and live and enjoy the comfort of this world. And that was my plan when I was a youth. But then after 94, unfortunately, when the army was taken out of the borders and they put in the soldiers, that was according to one of the reports given to us by one of the United Nations officials when they had a seminar some years ago. And they found that was one of the contributing factors. Because if you look into prior 94, pre-94, you'll find that the drugs of choice were Dhaka, Mandrax, and alcohol was the abuse, drugs of abuse. And then after 94, all these syndicates, South Africa used to be a conduit prior to 94, and after 90 it became a conduit and a haven. By the way, South Africa is now exporting drugs. So in 94 we could see, we were involved with SANZAF, South African National Zakat Fund, and we were involved, and we could see that we were helping. I used to do the home visits, a team of us, and we used to go and do home visits. And we see people got, no food, no lights, no water, rental, maybe bursaries, or maybe hospitalization. These are all the things that we could have, SANZAF could help as an ummah, through our zakat and the contribution that SANZAF was collecting. They could deal with these things. But it came to addiction. I should sit in the Shura committee and see that. 96, 97, we can see it's escalating and the caseload is getting more and more. So through our observations, or doing home visits, we could see that drugs was now becoming a common factor. And then looking from an Islamic point of view, if sitting in the Shura committee, if it was a Muslim that had a drug problem, then we'll say, let's phone a certain pastor, or let's phone a certain private rehab that was run on a Christian ethos. People are losing their minds. So as an ummah, as a Muslim community, we had no answers. So that, sitting in those meetings, and then you got your own personal life on the one hand, and the need on the other hand of the humanity. So we made a choice. So we tried to balance up, maintain our business dealings, and then try and do something. And that's how we founded R.A.U.F in 1998. It was not a thing that we never chose. We were not given a choice. It reached a point where we felt that, this inner voice telling us, the buck stops by you. The buck stops by you. You got to do something about it. You got to do something. And I felt like that. I felt this inner voice. I used to feel that you got to do something about this. This is a problem. You cannot let it go. Your iman will not allow you to walk away from this. And that's how R.A.U.F was founded. And of course, I remember talking to a physician, trying to inquire about how we can get this thing off the ground. And he said to me, don't waste your time. Because this is one hell of a complicated task. Don't get into it. You could be walking into something that's got really sort of take you nowhere. But that didn't deter us. We know that there's a God. We know that Allah never created us to suffer. We have made the wrong thing, made the mistakes in our lives, but that's not the end of it. And we felt that we were losing good Muslims through addiction and other faiths. Generally the Christians were snatching them. And R.A.U.F had to be formed. And R.A.U.F was started, and that's how we went from strength to strength, researching, trying different programs, researching all the programs throughout the world, looking at all the different approaches and trying to understand this. But then we hit a red flag. With a 1% success rate international, the general success rate initially is 0 to 2%, averaging 1. So what does it tell you? That you would go into a rehab, you'll pay 20,000, 30,000 for a 6 weeks or a 12-week course, and find that he's relapsed. So what does it leave you? And what about the downtrodden? What about the people who can't afford it? What about those families who've lost everything? So RAUF had to meet the criteria. We had to offer a service, number one, that must be cost effective, cheap, it must be very effective in terms of delivery, and at the same time, we must be able to reach out to all corners of the country first. Alhamdulillah, we've achieved it.
Absolutely. Now, just to add on to what you're saying, in fact, to ask you, you just spoke about effectiveness. So, regarding R.A.U.F, what program has been the most effective for your drug addicts?
See, RAUF, we generally with rehabilitation, you will find that the family would just take the loved one and plonk him into a rehab. Comes out like he's gone through a washing machine, brand new, spanking clean, cured, sorted out, living happily ever after. It doesn't work. Families and mothers used to phone us at the beginning. Tell me, don't you all have this thing where you can clean his blood and send him back home? These are all the misconceptions. Or now they have this thing about, let's send him for a detox, he'll be fine. But we must understand one thing. It's got nothing to do with his detox and nothing to do with his body. It's got everything to do with his mind. It's the choice that he's made that resulted in the predicament that he is. So the R.A.U.F program, we will not, for starters, we will not entertain a case if we do not have family participation. Because our research have shown us that family, weak parent, not peer pressure, we have found that weak parenting skills. Remember, prior to 94, we never had this problem. Now we were sitting ducks. Even now, as I'm speaking, we are in a comfort zone. While this pandemic is eating through the fabric of our communities. So we are saying, family must come into the program. We screen the family separately and the addict separately. And then make a collective decision after interviewing the two parties, making sure, number one is family involvement. Number two is there's no quick fix because you're changing somebody's behavior modification. You change a personality or change a character. It's not something you can do in 1 or 2 or 3 weeks. They go through different stages: denial, acceptance, shock, and sometimes denial can take up to 4 months. So our program to cover all the different stages goes up to 1 year. Full circle, complete all the different phases. So the program that we use is a therapeutic program, a psychological program, and a spiritual program, spiritual-based program. The psychotherapy, where we will discuss the different aspects and the different, makeup of human being and how to deal. The therapeutic is where you actually live the program, and the spiritual program is where you connect up to Allah.
Absolutely. So now, who should we apportion most of the drug addiction blame to? Is it the government? Is it our society? Is it the schools? Who can we blame? Or rather, who is to blame?
Yeah, you see, I think they all have a share in it. Government, because they do not have a strong enough control on the borders, of course, and with the corruption of the SAPS, and corruption is actually a major contributing factor. But then I would put more emphasis on the family, on the parent. You see, drugs is everywhere. You can go into countries where they've got very stringent laws, but there's still drugs there. You go to Iran, there's drugs. You go into Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, we ran a program in Jeddah. We ran programs, and you'll find heroin to be a big problem in Jeddah. So with strict controls, you still have a problem. They have a 376-bed hospital, where you stay for 2 years, but there's still a serious problem. So we are saying, the rules may not be enough. We keep blaming government and we keep passing the blame. We are saying, you as a family, you are the parent of the child. You are the wife of that husband. You are a family member to the personal spirit. You need to first take control of your loved one. You see, you will find people that take drugs. But when you give them pork to eat, they'll say, no, I cannot eat it. Why? Because they've been indoctrinated from a young age not to touch pork. They'll take the drug, but he will not eat the pork. So if we had to now deal with addiction the way we dealt with pork,
it'll be a different story now.
you're not going to. the problem will still be there, but not to the level that it's gone. So we need to, as parents, we need to educate ourselves, parents, from our observation, parents. I would put the blame on the parents. Because the parents say, yeah, but and generally they would come to us, I've given him a car, I've made him a doctor. Yesterday I had a call, the guy is a doctor, running semi-naked, totally psychotic, a doctor, a Hafiz al-Quran, and he was totally psychotic, an intelligent man. But what does the family do? You know? So we need to first, as parents, educate ourselves, research the different drugs, and then at the same time, educate our children.
Okay, so at a household level, society and governmental level, how can we possibly reduce drug awareness, rather drug addiction?
Awareness, education.
I gave the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Education and awareness.
Education is a must at all levels, at schools, at corporates, at businesses, wherever. And R.A.U.F has a dedicated wing throughout the country where we are called out to any place, whether it's a psychiatric clinic, or whether it's a school, or whether it's a creche, or whether it's a church, or whether it's a masjid. We need to create awareness at all levels. Because our mindset is that, we're living in a material world, and we feel that money can buy anything. Let me tell you one thing, money can't buy recovery. Money cannot, when it comes to addiction, money cannot buy recovery. And we've come to realize that recovery is one thing that you have to work very hard on. So the mindset, we need to change our mindset through awareness, educate, empower people, and make them understand that if you get into cocaine or heroin or any of these drugs, it's a pathway to destruction. So we need to create more awarenesses at all levels. That is why we welcome all platforms to create awarenesses.
Absolutely. All right, so in conclusion, what advice can you offer somebody who's dealing with drugs or somebody who's an addict and wants to get out?
That we get that call all the time. People calling us and I want to put him into a rehab. We need him to change. And I would say, if ever you know anybody that's indulging in substance, the first thing you should do is not put them into a rehab. Is you need to join a support group and educate yourself, understand the substance of abuse and how to deal with it. So if anybody has an addiction problem, my suggestion, we would always recommend and we would insist, if you want to join the R.A.U.F program, we will not take you in from the front door and send you out to the back door. We will put you into a support group, which we run 17 support groups throughout the country, where you will access those programs. We will prepare you, we will condition you, and then we will take you. So if anybody has a problem, they should immediately first educate themselves on the substance abuse, cultivate a conscience, understand where this thing is taking you, develop a want or the need to change. So if somebody is dealing with drugs and they don't see reason to change, they're not going to change. So the only way you need to change their mindset, and the support group is what can do that. We've had, I remember, from time to time, we get people that are dealing in drugs. And sometimes their children end up taking the drugs. So now the man is a dealer and his son is a drug addict. So what does he do? He comes to us. And when he hears what the drugs are doing to other people, he stops dealing. So, and that happened through awareness. So education, support group, sitting in support group. Anybody that's indulging in substance, always remember that if you are selling the drugs, remember that you are destroying a nation. And the thing is, there is always, for every action, there's a reaction. I haven't seen a drug, I've never in my entire life seen, from the biggest to the small. I've met the Colombian mafias, I've met some of the biggest dealers in America, I've met them, some very big, I'm saying, when I say this, I mean some real serious guys. And they'll tell you, it brought them to not. Because Allah is watching. It will catch up with you. You deal with substance. you destroy other people, there's a heavy price. So, we need to make people understand that, remember, you're not going to get away with it. It's going to catch up with you. And if you look even in Durban, where we live, show me any dealer that is successfully living happily ever after.
I don't think there is any.
It's you taking people's cares, you're destroying communities, and it's a price that you are not going to get away with. You'll have to pay for it. So the sooner, they realize that and want to change, and they stop their indulgent, the better it is for the community. Because I can tell you right now, a large percentage of Muslims, some of our Muslims are the biggest dealers in this country, and it's frightening.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us this informative interview.
Shukran. I'd like to thank you. And of course, like I said, we need these opportunities to create awarenesses. And we hope and pray that, it reaches out to as many people. And I'm looking forward to working whenever necessary. We are available. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for watching today's edition of Let's Sit Down with myself, Bibi Amina Fili. Don't forget to join us every weekend as we give you your amazing dose of what's happening around us. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And if you'd like to send us your feedback, you can send it to Let's Sit Down with the South Africa at gmail.com. From us here, team, goodbye for now. And thank you for watching today's edition of Let's Sit Down with myself, Bibi Amina Fili. Don't forget to join us every weekend as we give you your amazing dose of what's happening around us. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And if you'd like to send your feedback, you can send it to Let's Sit Down with me, South Africa at gmail.com. From us here, the team, it's a goodbye for now.
تعدى الدنيا